Good morning. So I'm Mary, and we are here for another episode of A Woman Full of Soul. And I am conferencing today with my sister Anne, who is going to share all about her fabulous life, what she enjoys, and what it means to be a woman full of soul. Some fun facts about her is that she loves to laugh, enjoys having a fabulous time, but her most interesting thing is that she uses humor and joy and happiness to diffuse any situation. So she's going to share more about that with you and what that looks like in her daily life. So Anne, tell us, what do you do every day?
Well, when people hear what I do, they do not think of humorous things. They go into very, very sad stories if I happen to tell them what I do, wherever I am, whether it is the grocery store or on a hike or in, an eatery. So, with that said, I'm a hospice social worker, and basically what I do is I go into people's homes and I help people who are caring for their dying loved one take care of them. And that is a very, very difficult job for them. So my job I see is one to go in there and kind of just say, you know what, I'm human, you're human. And there's nothing to do sometimes but laugh because we can't change always the situation that we're in. Sometimes we're in a situation because we're supposed to learn about it. We're supposed to learn about ourselves and we're here to grow. And in order to do that, it takes an awful lot of humor. So that's how I use humor in my daily life. I go in and yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it.
So that sounds like a job that's kind of heavy at certain times, given the emotional connection with all that and you know, the whole topic itself and how to carry someone through a situation like that and how to help them to see the light in the dark, which is fabulous. It's a difficult job, but it's one that you fully enjoy. And I'm saying that because I've seen Anne go through this journey and figuring out, where she felt her calling was and what job she felt she was really called to do and how to use all of her gifts and talents for other people. And this is the place where she's really found her niche in her home and where she really has been able to open up her own spirit even more to other people to really see the light and to experience the light and to experience God's goodness or a greater way to be in the world. So,
So the thing that I would say, people would either tell me their stories, oh, I had a person on hospice and this was my experience. Or the other thing that people say is, I don't know how you can do that. And I look at them and I say, I have one of the best jobs on earth. Every day I get to go into people's homes, complete strangers. They welcome me into their home. I get to help everyone. There's nobody that isn't going to go through this. And I get to see people loving each other at the very difficult time. Like one of the most difficult times that you can imagine. They're loving each other through it and they're showing up every day. And it is hard and there's a lot of difficult emotions in it, but I get to see people trying their best, doing their best. I do get to see people's hearts that way, and I get to love them through it. And there's not a lot of jobs out there that give you the ability and the permission to just walk up to a stranger and give them love. And so for me, this is the perfect fit. This is what I was looking for.
awesome. What inspires you to do what you do or in your life every day? How do you continue to maintain that joy and that happiness and really have that inspiration to keep doing what you're doing?
Well, when I was working with people with dementia, one of the programs that I took, one of the courses that I took that we would use with our dementia people, focused on endorphin boosts. So basically, how is it that you can help someone who's completely disoriented, who's very anxious, who doesn't know what's going on, who's really, scared a lot of the time? doesn't know how to communicate, is really in a vulnerable situation, right? Is on high alert all the time, is very anxious. How do you allow them or encourage them to touch base with the goodness that's part of being alive, just being alive? And endorphin boosts are part of that. And endorphin boosts, people have found, happen when you give someone a hug or they see something cute. So for me, I often seek out cute things. So when I'm walking down the street and I see a puppy or a dog, I think all dogs are puppies, I just say, "Oh, puppy!" And then I pet the puppy and I get so excited. Or when I see a baby or a little kid and they have their cute little outfit on or they're doing something fun, I enjoy that. So I don't necessarily go out to find cute things. Cute things find me because I'm looking for them. I'm open to them, and they're natural endorphin boosts, so they're free. You just walk around, and you're like, oh my god, you're so cute, And yeah, maybe I look like a crazy lady, but it really does work. And it
I
doesn't just
actually
work
do
for me; it
like
works for
crazy.
demented people too.
Yeah, tons of people do that. When I go through Central Park and I'm running, I see people stopping other people all the time to pet their dogs and to talk to them and to interact with their family if they see something, or even just to compliment people and say, "Oh, your baby's so cute," or "Your dog is so cute." I see it all the time, so it's very normal, and yeah, it just brings joy to your everyday. So, what is one challenge you find you're facing right now? It could be job related, not job related. And how are you trying to overcome that challenge?
Well, I'm an intuitive decision maker, and that's something that I learned over time. Um, but I've been doing it for a while, and so one of the things that I've noticed is that I've kind of stockpiled solutions to problems that I've had in the past that I use my intuition to solve. So now I have like a basket full of solutions, and I'm really tempted to use those solutions rather than my intuition. And yesterday, I was thinking about this and thinking, a lot of changes happening in my life right now, and I want to go back to the solutions that I know have worked in the past, but that's not what's called for. What's called for actually is for me to continue my intuition and to really roll with the waves that are unfolding now so that I can see the new possibilities that are in front of me now. Otherwise, I'd just be kind of recreating the past, and I'm being called to continue to grow. So, my biggest challenge is um, staying in the moment, staying present, and being uncomfortable with uncertainty rather than using all of those tools that I know have worked, that, however, will continue to set up the future um, in the way that the past unfolded. And that's not what any of us are called to do. We're all called to change and to grow.
Mhm.
So our intuition is very important.
Hey, that's great. That's really. Can you give an example, like of one thing, not a deep example, but one thing that you really um, recently where you've had this issue or problem?
Yeah, I mean, this is a silly one, but um, so one of the things is that in the past, I really found myself very uh, at peace and feeling like a healing energy when I was going very, very long walks. So like I'm talking like 2, 3 hour walks or half day hikes, things like that. And it took a while for me to realize that that was something that was very healing for me and very helpful for me. And so I created a kind of a schedule for myself where I would do that, and I ended up like running half a marathon, and I would hike up the highest mountain of a state and things like that. So being very like vigorously active ended up being part of that, and I, I think that although that was really good at that time and it was exactly what I needed at that time, I had a lot more time then to myself to do that. And now I have a lot more commitments and responsibilities, but also I have other priorities. Like I want to do other things. So how do I fit um, that solution that was really useful and really helpful that I truly believe in and that I would recommend to other people into the lifestyle that I have now? I really can't. And so instead of um, feeling that tension that, oh, I really should be hiking or I really should be hiking up that mountain right now so that I can experience that feeling. I'm trying to kind of sit in this space where there might be other possibilities. And this morning when I woke up, I was like, you know what I might want to do instead? I think I might want to take a modern dance class. So I could kind of do something physical, but kind of express myself in a different way, um, in an emotional way, because that's one of the things I like about hiking is that I sift through my emotions on my hikes, and it gives me time, and space. But this is like a different thing. So I think intuitively, I want to do something different. I want to try something new. But if I were just relying on my old solutions, then I would still feel that tension of I really got to figure this out. I really got to do this. How am I going to fit into my schedule? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this is going to be different. And I think actually doing like an interpretive dance, I might get the same results, the same kind of emotional processing in a shorter period of time.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So I'm excited about it. Actually, it's a different thing. I'm going to try it out.
Yeah, and it'll probably give you a different type of joy too. Like have you um it'll deepen your joy and but give you a different type where because you're moving different parts of your body but then also working on different muscles and everything. So it'll be different, but it'll be really joyful and exciting too because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
challenging in a new way.
Yeah.
What are you most grateful for in your life right now?
I have so many things to be grateful for that this is a very difficult question. Um, I mean, there's a lot of things I'm really grateful for. One of the things that popped up into my mind right away was sanity. And I'm just happy to be sane. Well, relatively speaking, we're all on the spectrum of sanity/insanity, but I mean, it's working for me right now, so that's good. But and my health, of course, and the love that I receive from other people. But I think the biggest thing that I am thankful for, if I really settle down into that question, is the angels that guide my life. So part of my intuitive process is really touching into divine guidance, and I feel that angels are very helpful in that regard, and I feel very, very supported and guided, and I'm so thankful that I opened up to that possibility and to that opportunity because my life has really changed in a lot of ways that are, I think, for the better for not only myself but for people around me. And I think if if there's any one thing that I would like to continue of all the things happening in my life, it would be divine guidance because I know that whatever unfolds, whatever happens, I'll be in alignment with my highest good and the highest good of all whom I touch, which is something that I pray for, something that I ask for. And, of course, I ask for the things that I want, like true love and, a job that allows me to help others and to be fulfilled and being able to pay my bills and being able to help other people that I love, things like that. I ask for all those things, but I always ask for them within the framework of them unfolding or those wishes kind of being granted or being or my efforts being supported within this understanding that it will be in service of my highest good and the highest good of all whom I touch. And when I ask for things for other people, like I want other people to be happy, I always ask for that as well. So sometimes we don't know actually what's going to make us happy. We think we do, but we don't really actually know. We're kind of misguided. And so, in asking for guidance in that way or help in that way, then we're kind of getting around the problem of our own egos or our own ideas of what we think will make us happy. And that's very important. And so I think that guidance is very important. Like, the person that I'm planning to marry, I want him in my life for a really long time, but I don't have control over that. And I don't know what the highest good is. Um, we'll see how everything unfolds. We're not in control of our health completely. We're not in control of what's going to happen to us throughout our lifetime. We can do our very best, but we don't really know. And so part of loving someone is being able to accept that level of vulnerability that we can't guarantee the future, that we don't know what's going to happen next. And so if I ask the angels for guidance, and if I know I can rely on them to help me through anything that comes my way, then, it'll be all right. Whatever it is, it'll be all right.
Yeah, so I love you saying the guidance, but then also being grounded. So in any situation, when you turn to a higher level of being or existing, or turn to a greater power, or turn to God in prayer, or you open up that divine communication, there's really that connection of guidance and being grounded, so that no matter what happens, you're prepared, and you don't second guess the decisions you've made, or not as much anyway, and um, you're really at peace with whatever unfolds, good and bad, um, but mostly good, because God's plan is always good. So yeah. What are you most excited about right now?
Oh my gosh, I'm a very excitable person.
I know.
I'm a very passionate person.
What your
So
answer is?
the answer to that question is different every single day.
That's okay. Right now, in this moment, what are you
But
most
this morning, actually, I woke up with this really exciting idea. My friend and I are both social workers, and we have been kicking around this idea of creating a retreat for people. And yesterday we talked about it, and when I woke up this morning, I had all these ideas that I was like, that I've been, like over time, just through trial and error, doing things myself and working on stuff, I've kind of amassed a repertoire of techniques that I think work. And so, although they might not be appropriate to this, what I'm working on right now, they do work. So, working on right now for myself. They do work for people who are grieving, because for a long time I was grieving. And so I was working through that, and I had, through trial and error, found things that actually worked. And my friend has found that those things have worked for her too. So we're very excited about this idea that we might create a workshop which would allow people to work through things that are difficult for them, using things that we truly believe do work, that are natural, that feel like second nature, use our basic goodness. And by that I also mean like the way the human beings work. Human beings are amazing. We have so many natural coping skills that
Mm-hmm.
we use and we don't even notice. We bring mindfulness to that, and we begin to harness the power of those natural coping skills that we were really born with, and we start to kind of direct them, so that they can facilitate our healing. Um, you don't even know what can happen next, because
Right.
things can happen, and so I'm really excited about that idea. I'm like, my brain is on fire right now with this idea, but she just flew to California, so I couldn't call her this morning and be like, oh my god, ah, this is what we're gonna do. So So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of note taking until I get to see her again.
Yeah. And to go back to what you were saying before about um, all the work that you're doing, and then also this, and even the relationship that you're in, and all of that, it's really trusting in that greater good, and knowing that things are going to work out, and that um, really seeing the beauty in that, and trusting in that beauty, that it's possible, like even the belief that it's possible, that it'll work, right, or that it'll come to fruition, and that it'll be successful, is something beautiful to have, that divine guidance really gives you when you're open to it, and you're really connecting into your angels, and whatever forms of prayer you are involved in. Okay, so on a lighter topic, who is one person in your life who has touched you beyond compare, beyond belief, and how have they touched you? And this can be a person that is alive now, it can be somebody who's dead, or it can be somebody who you don't even know, like a role model or somebody like that. So, who?
Okay, well, I have several people. I mean, this was another really hard question because I've had so many teachers and I've read so much. I mean, my first degree is in philosophy, so I read a lot of stuff about, what it is to be a human being. And I went into philosophy asking the question, how can we do this to each other? When I was in high school, the Rwandan genocide was happening, and that really changed me. That really changed my framework of thinking, and I really had a lot of big questions that I needed answered. And so I've, been influenced by a tremendous number of amazing people, both interpersonally and also through literature, that have, really been working on this question of how do we live a life full of dignity, respect, and love. Um, but I think on a personal level, um, I think the first person that really mirrored back to me my own feelings, really helped me to feel more seen or understood or heard, and really helped me feel that it was okay to be inspired, that it was okay for me to want something for myself. It was okay to want to be someone. Was Tracy Chapman, and Fast Car came out when I was in high school, and it was playing on the radio, and it was a beautiful song that I think has touched a lot of people's lives. And one of the most influential lyrics of the song is, I had a feeling I belonged, and I had a feeling I could be someone. And that's something I really wanted for myself. My upbringing wasn't easy, and I always felt kind of a fish out of water, and was I was always kind of like just lost. Like I wanted so badly to be loving, to help other people, but I didn't really know who I was or what I wanted, except I wanted to be something. And when you grow up in poverty, when you grow up with parents um, who have major difficulties, and you move around a lot, and you just don't have a stable environment, just someone giving you permission to want to be someone, just someone giving you permission to want to belong is amazing. When someone says that, and it wasn't a person that I knew, but I think she did that for a lot of people, just expressing that this is what I want. Yes, I'm in a difficult life, but
Mm-hmm.
this is what I want. I want to belong. I want to be someone. And for me, being someone was being confident in my ability to love other people. It was feeling like I had the right to breathe on this planet and to take up space and to be vulnerable and open and loving, but also the right to be strong and to have faith that I'm on the right path. So, it took a long time for me to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I tried out a lot of different things. And one of the things I did was I went to Chicago and I worked at a soup kitchen for a year. I was a volunteer, and that was right after my freshman year of college. And when I went there, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I want to love these people. I want to do a good job, and half of it is loving people, but half of it is having skill, is knowing how to do that, and understanding what's going on. And I always had this question, like, how are we doing this to each other? How are people homeless? How are people killing each other? what's going on? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand how this is happening. I don't understand how this works. And until I understand it, I'm not going to be able to truly be effective or do anything about it. And I didn't want to be a band-aid. So I went back to school, and it wasn't until graduate school that I was introduced to a thinker that has really changed. That's not true. He didn't change anything that I was thinking. He articulated, again, like Tracy Chapman, he articulated something that I had an intimation of in my heart, or an intimation in my gut. Like, I had the intuition, but I didn't have the words for it. And Frantz Fanon was able to give words for it. So he was a person who grew up in the French colony of Martinique in the Caribbean. And the first book that he wrote was Black Skin, White Masks. And it was about learning what it is to be a person who's not allowed to be who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Or, that's not even fair to say, actually. Learning that you, to a certain extent, are a person that's been constructed by your society. That you don't have permission for your gifts to naturally unfold. That they are inscribed or unfold within a power dynamic in a culture that kind of uses them in a way that isn't healthy for you. And so he wrote that book first, and then he wrote another book called Wretched of the Earth. So he succeeded in becoming somebody. He succeeded in becoming a psychiatrist and a philosopher. And he was sent over to Algeria, which was called Algiers. And he was asked to be a psychiatrist in an environment where there were revolutionaries who were trying to make Algeria independent. Mm-hmm. And then there were French troops who were trying to enforce colonialism in Algeria. And Frantz Fanon's job was to provide psychiatric care to the people being tortured and to the torturers. And of course, this is like a, mind bender.
Yeah.
Total mind bender.
Yeah.
So you go to school with the will to do something beautiful with your life, with the will to do something good. And, you want to heal people, you want to help people, you're really curious about how the mind works, and you want to use that. You want to genuinely pay that knowledge forward and to make a difference. And then you end up in an environment where people are being tortured, and you're asked to rehabilitate the torturers. And so he wrote about that and what that was like. And one of the most beautiful things that he said that has been, I think, very useful and helpful to all the people who read him and have been writing about post-colonial studies and have really been trying to understand what it is that we're doing and how do we overcome what it is that we're doing to each other? How do we move forward? He said psychosis, psychiatric issues, they're sociogenic in nature. That means that our culture, to a certain extent, creates mental illness. Mm-hmm. And for me, hearing that, it kind of brought me back to the questions that I had when I was working with homeless people, like, what is happening? Like, I worked with the people who were actively schizophrenic, weren't taking medications, and things that they said were true.
Right.
Yes, they were delusional. Yes, they were having hallucinations. But there was a degree of truth in what they were saying. And nothing that I had ever read in psychiatric books, in psychology books, because, I read those things as well to get my degree in social work. None of those books said anything about the degree of truth in the everyday experience of someone who has a severe mental illness. And Frantz Fanon explained why that is. And he said, the only way we're going to be able to change it is if we change our culture, if we change the rules, if we change the way that our society is structured so that people have permission to be the beautiful people that they are. And, you know, he paid a really high price for
Mhm.
bucking the system. He left his job and he joined the revolution, and you know, things were very, very difficult for him, but he was a good example of what it means to really show up in the place that you're at. Look at your society, look at your environment, and say what is going on and what needs to change in order for us to have permission to be the beautiful people that we were meant to be for ourselves, but also to each other. That's that.
Another song. I know you told me about another song that you really liked and enjoyed that's also inspired you recently. What is that song?
So this week, I was just surfing YouTube, as I do when I'm looking for interesting things, and Nina Simone came up. And I had heard songs from Nina Simone before, but I'd never seen any videos of her before. So I had seen a song that she sang called Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair. And the very presence that she has in singing this song is amazing. Like you can feel how grounded she is in her truth, how deeply connected she is to this idea that you can love someone. You can love the ground that they stand on, irrespective of your environment.
Mhm.
So although Frantz Fanon is right that mental illness can be sociogenic, and that society can structure our thinking, um, and that really we need to make some serious cultural changes in order to deal with that, and we need to reckon with those parts of ourselves that have been colonized or acculturated that um, lead us to oppress others with or without our knowledge. Although all of that is true, it is also true that the human spirit always has the capacity to love. And
Mhm.
she is a very good example of someone in the midst of political fury, frenzy, um, just pure craziness, right? Revolution, but also the backlash to people asking for their rights. She stands in her space and she owns her love. She owns her feelings and she sings, My true love has black hair. And I adore the ground that he walks on. And so part of hearing that song, of course, was within that intellectual context, within my professional context, but also I'm currently in love with a man from the Caribbean, from St. Martin, who
Mhm.
grew up in that who grew up in the U.S. during the time when people were fighting for civil rights, and so to me hearing that song, it just it felt like an expression of the sacred within me right now. The love that I have for my true love, who also has black hair and is amazing and beautiful. And I don't know how he lived the life he lived, and he's still this wonderful, beautiful, loving man. But I absolutely 100% admire him for that, and that's precisely why I love him, because he's a miracle, just like we all are.
If there is one thing you could tell every woman, or you wanted every woman to know, what would it be? That one major nugget. What would it be? What does it look like? Sorry about that, Mike. I'm gonna plug in my phone because it was
Um,
being a little bit here.
I don't know if I have something for every person, every woman, but for women that are caregivers, there. I think in pretty much every society, I don't. I would say most societies, at least westernized societies, our job as a woman is to do the emotional labor, is to do the emotional work. And And sometimes that emotional labor work looks like caregiving. Sometimes it doesn't. It can have unfold in very different ways. Sometimes, you might be doing it at work, or you might be you doing it for your friends or whatever. But emotional labor is a job that we've been assigned.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say for any caregiver, just take a moment to appreciate how much strength, how much love it takes for you to show up every day and do what you do. So often, the caregivers that I meet, they look at the one thing they did wrong that day and they say, oh my God, I failed. I'm a terrible person. I'm not a good mom. I'm not a good daughter. I'm not a good granddaughter. I'm really screwing this up. I don't know if I can keep doing this. You know, and they miss all the beautiful things that they do every single day. This level of perfectionism that women hold themselves to when they're doing emotional labor is unrealistic,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not what we're here for. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to be vulnerable, and we're here to love, and we're here to enjoy each other. And part of that is enjoying each other in the difficulties, enjoying each other in the mistakes, enjoying each other. That's where humor comes from. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. That's completely ridiculous. Well, yeah, that's going to go down in the record books right there. You know, um, just being human is such a difficult thing. Being self-aware, knowing that there are things that you want to accomplish in this world, and there's people that you want to love, and then also knowing that there's no way you can do it right. Not 100%, not perfectly.
Mm-mm.
That right there, we're all in that boat.
Right.
We're all existing as human beings, and when we think that we can do it all right, that's where becomes the pain of being alive and losing someone becomes suffering that's optional. You can have this optional suffering, or you could have humor instead and just say, oh my goodness, I'm trying so hard, and this is it's not at all what I wanted. This is not at all what I was thinking. This is not what was meant to be in my mind. you know but I'm going to do the best I can with this pancake anyway. Maybe I don't have all the ingredients, but I'm gonna make it work. And women, they make it work. They
Mm.
make it work. And I want the women who are doing that emotional labor to really appreciate themselves and to love themselves, and to say, you know what? I'm taking a moment to just say, all right, I got this. I got
Yeah.
this. I got this because I show up. And 90% of it is just showing up, just being present, just showing up. The other 10% is skill. And that's something you have to learn. It's not something that anybody is just born with. It's a skill. And over time, you figure things out, and the game board keeps changing. So you can't think that, like I said before, the solutions that you had before are always going to work now, especially if you're raising a kid. Kids are changing all the time. Or if you're caring for a person with dementia, they're changing all the time. Everybody's always changing. So even when you strike an idea that's worth gold and you could write a book about it and make $1 million, that $1 million book isn't going to work a year from now, even for you. So just be patient with yourself. Enjoy the journey if you can. And if you can't, find a sense of humor about it.
Yeah. So there's two things that keep coming up through you saying that. One is we're called to be in the messiness of life. That is the messiness of life. Life is not perfect. And I know I said that else too, but um, it's the messiness, you know. But God, can't let alone yourself. Like no one. And on top of that, it's that idea of being able to laugh at yourself. It's people that honestly love you. They understand. They um they they accept you for who you are, even if you don't have all your things in place, even if the things you don't know, even if you can't figure everything out, or even if you're still developing the skills to grow as a person, that person, mind, still but they're there on the journey with you, just like you're there on the journey with them. And they recognize that messiness and they're happy for it. And they still enjoy you in that messiness and can also laugh about situations too and help you to see the silver lining, which I know you have always done throughout my own life. Like anytime that I could not see the silver lining, you always bring me back to the silver lining. That it's there, that it's present, even if I feel like I failed, even if I feel like I accomplished nothing or can't see the value in what I'm doing. Of those things, or even if there's a moment where I've been like, I really don't know what is going, what's going on. I don't know up from down right now, but there's always been something there where you have pointed me back to this. So I'm really thankful and appreciative of that. And I know, I'm positive that people that you work with every day and that you're in communication with, all of those people actually have that smile and forget about all those really difficult details that they can get stuck on.
Yeah. I think the other thing I would say, though, is that I'm also encouraging women to take an independent view of their value. So, caregiving is not easy, loving isn't easy, and people do have unrealistic expectations for you sometimes or often. And it is a cultural thing. I think it's not just that people are demanding or something. It's also just the culture that we're raised in. What it is to be a woman is very difficult. This idea of what it is to be a successful woman is very difficult to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And impossible in my opinion. So when you have people who are so frustrated and unable to process their own emotions, they often expect women to do it for them. And because our job is emotional labor in our society, that's what, the role that we have been given. That doesn't mean that we have to do that. I'm just saying that often we find ourselves doing that. And often people expect us to do that. Even if we choose not to do that, we still have those expectations that we need to deal with. So I'm also encouraging people to say, you know what, I understand that you're disappointed that I didn't do this right, or I didn't love you perfectly, or I didn't meet your expectations. And what I usually tell people that I work with is just pause and say to the person that they love, just pause for a minute when they're done being mad and look at them and just say, you know what? I love you. I just love you.
Right.
I love you. I'm doing my best here. I'm not perfect, but one thing that I know is that I love you.
Right.
And that stands on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can qualify that for you. No one can tell you whether or not you love somebody else or not. Nobody can tell you that because you did this one thing wrong, you don't love them right. Or, only you can really own that truth. And nobody, once you become comfortable with that, owning your own feeling, your own ability to love, no one can take that from you either. So even when people are critical, even when they say, oh my God, you just don't get it, do you? And yeah, maybe you don't get it. Or maybe you do get it, but they don't think you get it. It doesn't matter. In either case, there's an underlying truth. And the underlying truth is, I love you. And I will continue to love you. Will it look messy? Yes. I'm human. I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can. Or maybe I'm not doing the best I can. Maybe I'm distracted, or I'm not totally invested in this, and maybe I could do better, but that doesn't change the fact that I love you.
Right, right.
That is an abiding thing. That's an abiding truth that isn't easily swayed just because I made a mistake, or
Hmm.
just because you thought I made a mistake, or. So owning that truth is just as important as um, letting go of this perfectionism that not only you expect of yourself, but other people expect of you as well. That was a really hard one lesson for me, because I really felt like in order for me to be a loving person, other people needed to understand that I loved them. And honestly, there are people that aren't ready yet to
Hmm.
feel it. There's people who aren't ready yet to be vulnerable enough to accept the love that you have to offer. That doesn't mean you're not offering it. It just means that at this moment in time, that person is not in a place where they feel safe accepting that love, and that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a person who doesn't know how to love. You're not unsuccessful in loving someone because they can't feel it. You're genuine in your feeling. You just have to figure out how to practically navigate that difficult situation. That's a skill. That's a skill. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you do actually love them.
So if there's one word you could use to define a woman full of soul.
That was an easy one when you asked me that question. I was like joy, of course. Like joy is the answer, and and by joy, I think the way that I want to define it today, it's always different, but today is the ability to see the value of life in all circumstances and to bring upliftedness to those circumstances. So joy isn't like this, oh, I'm so happy, I'm happy all the time, I'm just so happy, like, no,
Right.
joy is very, very grounded. It's I
Mhm.
am present, I'm here, and I am appreciative of the life that is before me, of which I am a part right now. And I will bring a sense of upliftedness to this, that there is something fundamentally workable about every situation. And that was proven um, over and over and over again. And one of the ways that was described was, when people were in the Holocaust and they were in concentration camps, the way that people responded to the situation, they were different. Different people responded to it different ways, and some people were able to hold on to a fundamental sense of dignity and respect for
Mhm.
life despite being treated as disposable. And that was another formative moment for me when I realized that ultimately appreciating your own existence is a quality of soul that no one can take away from you no matter what the circumstance. Is it hard to defend sometimes? Is it hard to live in that space? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not saying that it's easy, but I think any woman or any human being with soul is going to have a dimension of joy to them that's inexplicable. It doesn't make sense. It's almost insane because it's not cause and effect related. It's not this happened and therefore I feel this. It's a quality of soul. It's a quality of being. I am of joy. I am basically good. I belong here. I enjoy the air that I breathe. There's a part of me that understands love. For me, joy and love are very related.
Mhm.
Love, um, appreciation for existence are non negotiable. They can't be taken from me. I can allow people to take them from me. I can give up on them. But if I choose them, that choice is not something that is easily undermined.
Right. And even to bring this back to your Holocaust example, when people, even though they got like online, and even if they lose hope, they value the life of other people in that. So they treat their life, they appreciated the fact that they were alive, even if their life was going to change, even if they saw all the time. They also appreciated the life of people in that camp with them, and would encourage many stories where people encouraged each other to do what was best for them, but also best for the group. So I know I just recently read a story where one of the inmates within the camp went and sold like bread for the group, and guards didn't catch him, but they realized what was happening, and they went in and they questioned the group, and the group all stood by each other and did not say who it was. They refused to give any information, and then they all suffered the consequences. But because they knew what that person was doing for everybody else's life and the appreciation that they had for that, they refused to say anything, whether it cost them their life or not. So, yeah, that value and appreciation of life can be a lot. And seeing how. Anything else you want to add? What? Give us something funny.
Okay. Well,
Something funny, even if you do a little dance or sing a little song, because we love that.
okay, so I'm not going to dance or sing, but
You did yesterday a lot,
telling, I've been telling people this factoid that I have recently learned, which has delighted me to no end. And it's just one example of like those things I put into my pocket that I bring out when I need to be reminded that there's something really amazing about being alive. And of course, it involves something cute. So there was a study done on elephants, and they found that elephants' brains light up in the same way that human brains light up when humans look at puppies, when elephants look at humans. In other words, humans are elephant puppies. And you know I love puppies. So for me to think of myself as a puppy to another living creature is like really exciting. It's really awesome. And that, you know,
And what's the term you've given this? Because you've given this a term, right? What do you call it?
just elephant puppies.
Yeah, elephant puppies. So we're elephant puppies, and
Yeah.
technically we're elephant puppy love. We are.
Yeah, and I mean, so puppies are so important to me that I will often fantasize about creating or having this room that's just puppies, and people can go into this puppy room and just like be around puppies, and that's it. That's the whole function of the room, is you just go in and you just play with puppies, and it's just constantly full of puppies. Like, to me, that is amazing. I love it. So, if somebody is, having a really bad day, and they're like, I just wish, things were different, and I just tell them my dream of having a puppy room. It just,
That's
like,
puppy therapy.
lights them up. Even if it's not a real puppy, just thinking about puppies, it works. Right? I know. Of course, I go onto YouTube and watch puppy videos, because why wouldn't I? But
And she has a dog, by the way, which is still a puppy.
Yeah,
So,
he's still my puppy. He'll always be my puppy.
yeah. Well, thank you for sharing everything with us today and enlightening us and helping us to get to know you and what it means to be a woman full of soul, which I know you are definitely a woman full of soul. I've seen it in every moment of your life in multiple ways and facets. And it's been fabulous to be on this journey with you. I'm so
Thank you.
happy and grateful for that, and just the beautiful example you've given me every day.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to just talk a little bit about whatever I think is
Awesome.
important right now. If you did this interview tomorrow, it would probably be different. It would probably have different answers. But today, this is what I'm thinking about.
And thank you for letting us into your little world there, your bookshelf and your beautiful plants. I love it. But we're going to bring this to an end. So thank you. And we will see you next time for A Woman Full of Gold.
Okay.
Signing off.
Bye.
Ciao.